I'm here today with Malcolm Palle, Executive Chairman of Aquis, an OTC venture market listed Coinsilium, which is a blockchain and open finance venture builder based in Gibraltar. Malcolm, it's good to speak with you.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. Very good indeed. So back in 2015, Coinsilium was the first ever blockchain IPO on the Aquis market. And it's been quite a journey for you since then, with some notable investment successes into blockchain technologies. Can you provide us with a brief roadmap of that journey?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. The Aquis exchange has had several iterations. It is now the Aquis exchange. It's been Plus Markets and OFX before that, and ICDX and Next and whatever. So yes, lots of iterations, but we are where we are now. Well, we were the first. Coinsilium was the first ever blockchain focused company in the world to list on a public market. Did its IPO and raised princely sum of £1 million at the time. So Coinsilium listed in 2015 December with a basket of early stage investments in early stage companies, and it made a few subsequent investments then, because the strategy of the company at the time was that of as a sort of an incubator, but giving investors exposure to this technology. We made a few significant investments over the period, and sort of just spanning that whole period from 2015, late 15, 16 to date. We invested in RSK Labs. At the time was a kind of challenger to the Ethereum model for creating smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain. We did quite well, and the company's done incredibly well since then. We were the first investor in RSK ever, and it was the prelude to far more investments, and ended up with them doing their very large token sale, and Coinsilium was achieving an exit in a share for token swap, which has actually done pretty well for us ever since. So we're sitting on about 2 million tokens, or we exited with 2 million tokens, and those are, some of them are have already vested, some of them are vesting, but effectively that was a meaningful exit for 50,000 investments. A current valuation of 2 million tokens is around $600,000, so from $50,000 to $600,000. We also sold our entire equity stake in Satoshi Pay, which is a crypto payments aggregator for micropayments or using cryptocurrencies, and that's moved on. I think we made a 350% return on that. And Endorse was another notable success, which was the company we helped to their token sale. We got 10% of the equity, and we hold quite a few of their tokens, but they're great, really great tech guys. So we did all this in sort of against a backdrop of varying waves in this crypto space. 2017 was boom. 2016 was pretty dull. 2017 was a boom, went into 18, then it fell off a cliff when the ICO market moved back. But now, since 2020, it started tearing away, and now it's literally on fire.
I was going to say, of course, in 2019, you moved the business to Gibraltar.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, Gibraltar was kind of an obvious for us because of challenges that we were seeing in the UK, in jurisdictions which didn't quite understand the technology and wasn't welcoming for it. We came to a conference in Gibraltar on the launch of their distributed ledger technology, which is another kind of term for blockchain, conference, and the launch of their discussion document, which was to put Gibraltar in a place where they could effectively provide regulation for this space. They've got a very strong kind of regime around gaming and gambling licensing here, and they wanted to do the same thing for cryptocurrency exchanges and various parties. They saw the opportunity, and it's paid back very well. jurisdictions doing extremely well here. We sort of came at the right time. So we've got the skill sets, but also it gives banking guarantee kind of certainty. You have banks that have procedures for working around the AML and KYC issues that you sometimes see with cryptocurrencies. So we've got certainty there, we've got tax certainty, and we've got regulatory certainty. So and a very welcoming and sort of forward-thinking regulator. So anything we do here, we know we're in the right conducive environment for doing it, and that's really paying off a big time for us now, because we're just really, rather than having to go to see regulators and various government bodies who don't understand what you're talking about, we're here with the smart guys. So it's really good, and if we see an opportunity and they understand the opportunity, then we can sort of drive that forward. So it's a great place to be, and COVID restrictions permitting, it's only 2.5 hours from London. So that's the reason.
So of course you did take advantage of that and pivoted the business last year to become a venture builder, and you put in place an agreement with Endorse. You must be really excited by the potential in the new business now, and also of course with non fungible tokens.
Yeah, the pivot was, I mean, I actually thought about this term because it's one of those tech terms that's used when you sort of change the strategy of the business and move into a different direction. But because this technology is at such an early stage, I think a better analogy would be we kind of approach this as, there's a lot of tributaries leading to a big river. And this river is sort of a long way ahead of you, but you need the entry point. So we came into this blockchain space and cryptocurrency space with a view that we were going to invest in other companies and give investors exposure. It became apparent that we knew a lot and we had a lot of good connections, and we had the capabilities of creating our own operations rather than invest in other people's operations. So I think the venture builder side of things came about because of that realization, and we just had to really look at the business as it was and say, are we going to be able to deliver better returns for investors by actually building our own ventures or investing in other people's? And we've got we believe that we've done the right thing. And our first venture is for the creation of a cryptocurrency, an NFT, non fungible token, for a counterpart for a cryptocurrency stamp. But we've also recently announced an MOU with Endorse, which is, as I say, the company we've invested in and we know very well, to look at setting up a non-fungible token focused development studio in Gibraltar. And that is something that was a bit of an obvious for us, because with Endorse, they have the technical skills, you see. They built their own platform. They didn't outsource it. They didn't go to other parties, raise money and go to other parties. They actually built it themselves because they're tech guys, they're engineers. So for them to provide the tech skills, for us to provide the commercial skills and the kind of growth impetus, it is a really, really, really good marriage. And again, we're at the MOU stage because we had to start somewhere. But I think I'm hoping and expecting that we're going to be able to move this forward very quickly. And we're already looking at potential projects that we can work on. We're already getting inquiries. And so I think that this is really hit the spot. So we're very excited about the potential progress there.
Super. So coming back to the postage stamp, of course, you're creating an NFT counterpart for Gibraltar's crypto postage stamp, and I understand from the announcement today, of course, that we can reserve our orders next month in April and pay with Bitcoin and or Ethereum. Yes.
The stamp there's two elements to the stamp. There's the actual postage stamp itself, which is being produced by the Gibraltar Philatelic Bureau, because they issue stamps for the government, as in, they're the issuers on that basis. But we're creating an NFT counterpart for that. And we're also been helping with the sort of overall theme so that the two elements can marry together. We announced today, as you rightly say, that the launch date for the actual stamp, which is going to be sold by Gilbraltar Philatelic Bureaus through their various portals, will be on the 17th of May. And there will be pre-reservations opening, or you can pre-order them from the 19th, I think, of April. And at that point, they will be available to reserve. But of course, they go on sale on the 17th of May, and that's when they will be, from that point on, dispatched to buyers around the world. They've integrated a payment processing system in conjunction with Digital Asset Management in Gibraltar, who are a DLT licensed operator here. They've helped them enable this facility. So effectively, you'd be able to go to the website and it'll give you payment options, PayPal, credit cards, whatever, and then crypto. Click on crypto, and you have to go through a very short form AML process, not too onerous, and then pay for the stamp, which comes in a presentation pack, and that will be sent directly to the purchaser. With it will be instructions on how to access and reserve the NFT counterpart.
Super. That sounds really exciting. I'm actually going to purchase my stamp, so I'll be hotfoot online to
Wonderful
to DLT in April. So let's just talk about the wider NFT market here, Malcolm. I mean, it's vast. So I've been looking at this in detail over the past few weeks. Potentially it's going to be infinitely larger, so it seems, than the cryptocurrency market, despite Bitcoin's amazing performance, of course. I mean, we're seeing bands like the Kings of Leon release their new albums as an NFT. We're seeing Beeple, the artist, sell collages of digital art for up to 66 million. I mean, astonishing amounts of money. What does it look like to you?
Well, there's certainly there's lots of ways to look at it. I think there's definitely a bandwagon going on where people are jumping on, but it's happened extremely quickly. We've been looking at this space since August. We've been working towards what we've done with the Gibraltar Philatelic Bureau, because we thought that was a very kind of manageable entry point. But we did recognise that there was going to be use cases far beyond that. But nonetheless, let's start in a way that we can manage, and let's keep it within the realms of what we know we can be comfortable to deliver. But then it became apparent as the market started growing that this is enormous, and it's kind of gives another dimension to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, because what people are focusing on now is what they can do with it, and there's seemingly no end to the possibilities, because art was pretty much the first one out the trap. So we expected, when we got into this space, when we decided to move away from investing in startups to our own ventures, particularly with a focus on NFTs, we expected to be doing a lot in NFTs, and we were getting very excited about the space. What we didn't anticipate was the actual level of global excitement that has transformed the art world in particular, because we didn't imagine that the art world would be the first to jump on this. We saw the cases with music, because you've got other elements, and we've talked about this on various interviews, and whether it's sort of selling artwork for a musician, selling their songs, specific songs. Of course, that goes back to the way the music industry has evolved, because, at one time you were selling vinyl albums, which were limited in the amount that were produced, and then they were reprinted, and, then the early ones became more valuable than the second editions. And then, of course, CDs got copied and multiple copies made, and the whole music industry blew up. If this technology existed then, it would have been ideal for these music record labels to actually sell music in limited quantities online. But, you know, it's a double spend thing. You know, the same thing with Bitcoin. You can't double spend them. So you know, if you produce 50,000, a million albums or whatever they are, you know that's the only amount that they're going to be out there. And I can't copy you can't lend me one. I burn a CD and then I've got two. You've actually only ever got one. You might take a sort of a raw recording of it, but it's not the original. So then you say, well, what other industries can that be used for? So you talk about the art world, you talk about music, you talk about then the potential of commercial things like airlines, flights. Tickets, flight tickets. Your flight ticket should be one for one seat on one flight at one time, and then once that's done, it's not usable anymore. So, you know, markets. There's just that's what's happening now, is the realization that this is, and a little bit like the internet, when email came along and it was the first iteration. Yeah. You wouldn't imagine a company having a website. What would they do with a website? How, you know, then search engines, and now we're starting to see one of the real killer apps for blockchain technology, which is effectively NFTs. So it's only the tip of the iceberg, and we're very fortunate for two reasons. Firstly, because we got there at the right time, and I think you'll be hard pushed to find another company listed in this space who actually is really in the center of this. We're really in the mix with this. Of course, we're not going to be able to do everything, and you know, we can't put our arms around the whole market. But what we can do is find the most lucrative and interesting and easy accessible, you know, use cases. Call it the low-hanging fruit, whatever it is, but it's big, juicy fruit as well. And then be the first to actually go to the entities that we feel we can work with and leverage our position and our knowledge. So yes, extremely exciting. And that's, yeah, you know, maybe 3 months ago, I see you were on an interview with another gentleman in stock guy who'd never heard of non-fungible tokens, wasn't interested in listening to them or hearing about them. Don't talk to me about non-fungible tokens. I don't want to hear. And I've listened to that clip that's going around with him talking about. I thought, oh boy, are you the guy that turned down the Beatles, or what?
Because, Malcolm, he actually went on and bought the Kings of Leon album the following week as an NFT. So he's up to speed with it now. I think he realised.
Did he understand that? Have you rubbed it in yet?
Yes, I have.
Are you? I think you're too much of a gentleman, but I couldn't resist it. But no, that's just you know, good. No, okay, so. Okay.
So, I mean, so you're right at the start of this journey. I mean, it's an incredibly exciting time to be in the NFT market. So I'm just really going to come back now to the company Coinsilium itself. Obviously, IOV Labs invested further funds into the company. What do the company finances look like now going forward?
Not bad. I mean, we've done a few good things last year, which sort of changed the complexion of our finances. Firstly, we did a lot of advisory work where we got paid in 2017-18 in tokens, and we sort of, they were bombed out for a while, but market sort of turned in 2020, and so we started, as the prices of these cryptos went up, we started sort of actively managing them, and we've gone into more liquid and other tokens with higher growth potential. And we've actually, I think we announced in August about $575,000 worth of tokens, which we've transformed as of February, when we put our last announcement, just under 2 million. So we've done pretty well with that. We did two fairly small finances in 2020. IOV Labs invested I think 250,000 in January, and then another 330,000 in December. They then converted some warrants, exercised some warrants for another 250,000. And of course, we've done a little bit of advisory work as well in between. So, there was always a bit of cash coming in from that. But ultimately, with the crypto, with our funds that we've raised, and also, we have some treasury shares as well, which we bought back, which are now significantly worth more than they were then. But of course, we don't have any immediate plans to do anything with those, but they're just good to have, that we bought back. So, that's quite good. But the bottom line is we also announced that we are financed at the time for all our venture activities to January 2022. So, certainly through to the rest of the year. And that was, prior to that other little cash top up of 250. But of course, our ambitions now that this space is growing are going to have to, be looked at again, and not suggesting we can't do everything we plan to do. But, the way things are going now, it's looking very interesting, and some of the opportunities that are coming towards us are certainly bigger than we imagined. We could have imagined even in December. So it's a great place to be. It's exciting, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Of course. So Malcolm, I could talk to you all day about this because I'm fascinated by NFTs, but we are running short on time. So just to summarize, can you provide some key messages and milestones for investors to look out for this year?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is we're going to ride the wave of this NFT market. But we're going to do it in a very constructive way. We're not just going to go after the first thing that moves. We're going to do things that we can build sustainable long-term value. So it's, I think, key for people investors to consider us on the basis that we are sort of we're building long-term value, and we're not here just to for a quick hit. The other thing is with regard to particularly starting with the crypto postage stamp of the NFT counterpart, these are intended to be commercial models that will generate revenues. I won't be drawn into how much these revenues are going to be at this stage, because it would be imprudent of me to do so. If you've got a cake shop, I love shop analogies, by the way. I've used the sandwich shop before, but they're very simple. You've got a cake shop and you actually advertising your cakes. The first thing you do is you put the price on the cake, when you're ready to say how much that cake's going to cost. And then you go out, you open the doors, people come in and they buy the cakes and they take them away. At the end of the day, you open the till and look and see how much you've got. Now, I'm not going to predict in the morning before I've even put the prices on the cakes or open the door for the first customer to come in how much I'm going to take for the day. That would be very imprudent. So we're going to start talking about revenues when we've actually got some idea about what those revenues are, and we're going to report those revenues rather than anticipate them. But we can give an idea that we're going to be a very good cake shop. We're going to put some very appetizing cakes out there, and we're going to do our best to actually drum up business from all and sundry in town to come and buy our cakes. Now, that might be an analogy too far, but that's the point there. So we are sort of people have to sort of consider where we are in the actual stage of our kind of revenue generative journey, and we do have the advisory work which sort of ticks along as well. But this is potentially the big one, because we can see that the market is pretty large for this. So that's where we are at the moment in that respect. And I think that as we bolt on other ventures, there'll possibly be different kinds of models. For instance, the art world is a little bit different to the collectible market, because when you've got an artist who sells like Beeple a digital piece of art for $70 million, so anyone involved in that process is probably making a meaningful amount of money along the way to get that there. And likewise, if we got as we sort of look at other areas and different use cases, we get involved in music, it might be with a larger entity, and there might be a different kind of structure. We wouldn't be necessarily selling the albums, but we might be part of that process. So we would get whatever the commercial deal is that we do on that basis. So, think about it, as a bit of a gold rush and we are there with the picks and shovels, and we're ready sort of to actually look commercially at what we're doing and pitch that up. So yeah, it's, as I say, early stage, but we can see where the revenues are going to come from, and we can see that we should be able to play a good a constructive role in that space.
So plenty of icing on the cake to look forward to. Malcolm
Yes.
Palle, Malcolm,
thank you.
Chairman of Coinsilium, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you, Alan.